Hey there, gardeners. Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast. Seriously, we have a special episode this week. This is an episode that was released for the Community Gardens podcast, but as Batavia and I sat around and we talked about it, we felt like the message really needed to go out to everybody, and we wanted everybody to get a chance to hear it so they could make the decisions for themselves and how they wanted to react this year to the cost of plants in the stores. And honestly, the way that the consumer, or the gardener to be exact, is being mistreated this year and probably moving forward. For years, she and I, Batavia and I, had always joked whenever we had private conversations about whether or not we should hit the record button. Like, we would start talking, we'd be like, oh, hit the record button, hit the record button. And we would just, and turn it off and move on. But with the Community Gardens podcast for Patreon, that's what we've started doing. And so it starts with like a comment, like we'll have like maybe 3 minutes of conversation and be like, we need to record this, because you can just, sometimes she and I can just tell when the conversation is going to go in a direction in which we would want to share and we feel like would be helpful for people. So that's what we've done. And it started off with, the topic at hand, which is, the rising costs and everything, and then kind of graduated and just stayed around that. But this is the first of hopefully more to come, but we're treading very lightly on these episodes because we want to do a series about this, but we want to find a way to do it tastefully and tactfully. And we don't want to cause fear, but we also, we want you to be prepared. We want you to be prepared for what's to come, and we want you to be able to combat it so you can always garden. So we can always have a garden and not necessarily have our budgets get in the way and be an issue. So I hope you enjoy this episode. We're more than happy to share this with you. The patrons gave us their blessing and said, hey, share this with the people. It's very important. So check it out. If you'd like to become a patron, then you can do so. This is just a taste of one of the episodes. We do one of these a month, and then you'll also get one of the mini-sodes a month that is exclusive to patrons. So feel free to do that. The links are below. But in all honesty, this is just so that we can help more people and really shed light onto the situation and maybe, provide somebody an avenue or a reason to grow their gardens in a more cost-effective manner. So without further ado, enjoy today's Community Gardens podcast. Never done that before. It sounded weird, but seriously, enjoy.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening. We are your hosts, Ben and Batavia, and you can find me gardening in the country.
And you'll find me gardening in the city. Get ready as we dig deep into this
wonderful world of gardening, where we learn to grow and grow for change. Welcome to another episode of the After Show right here in the Community Gardens, Backyard Gardens podcast, or whatever the hell we want to call it. So seriously, we just finished recording an episode, and Batavia and I we're chatting, and we decided, let's talk about this. So it's going to start, I don't know how it's going to finish, but it's going to start about the pricing of plants now, right? How do you say his last name, Batavia? Gary...
Gary P.
Pilchak.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Y'all know who I'm talking about. If you know, my man that you never see his face, you only see his hands on YouTube. Been doing gardening videos for, 14,000 millenniums. And he did a video of red cabbage plants in the store for $4.78 for one cabbage plant. I'm going to let that sink in for 3 seconds. One cabbage plant, $4.78. That's crazy.
I was offended. So I always try to rationalize everything. It's like an Achilles heel for me, actually. And a part of this, I think, like, if I didn't have what I have available to me now and I wanted to break into gardening, and I love cabbage. You know, you and I have talked quite a bit. We've played up cabbage over this year, and I think it's a great plant. But I struggle with the concept of paying $5 for what will, if you're lucky, be a single head of cabbage
that you'll get at the store for $2 for a head of cabbage. Let's be straight. Let's be straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go to the store and get a head of cabbage for $2. So
yeah, Gary's in Maryland. And I was just telling Ben that because last year was my first full out spring garden. Last year was the first time that I paid attention to and saw starts for the spring, like in the spring, in March. And they're not in my area as of this recording. I've been checking, right? Because, you know, some things didn't work out in my garden, in my grow room. So some of the things I grow were going to be purchased. But I'm not paying $5 for a cabbage plant. Last year is what I was telling Ben, that I ended up getting like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and collards. All of those starts were sold in 6-packs. And they were about, I was trying to check on my phone, they were about $4 or $5 for each individual 6-pack. And it still stung because I have all of those seeds at home. But, you know, I thought it was worth it for the experience, for the food that I would get. But $5?
You're missing a key word there. For the convenience of it, okay? There's a convenience factor in buying a 6-pack of plants. I'm not even going to address the convenience factor of paying $4.78 for one head of cabbage. But when you're buying starters, you know, Batavia and I have always said we don't care. There's no shame in your game if you start your garden completely off of starters or you start them from seed, whatever. The fact is you're growing. But when you're buying those starter plants, you're paying for the convenience, okay? I grow seeds and I sell them every year, partially to help fund the show and to help fund myself. But it takes 2 months for me to grow those. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's 2 months of time and space and energy spent. So when you think about it, like, it makes sense. But there comes a point, and by the way, I sell them for $5 for a 6-pack of those spring vegetables. Tomatoes and stuff are different because they're single and they're much bigger. But for these, it's different. So it's a crying shame that you're taking something as beautiful as gardening, and I mean, it's price gouging at that point. Now, I do understand that there's inflation right now. I don't think I need to say out loud that gas prices have recently shot up to astronomical prices. So there is that. But at the same time, there comes a time where it's like, all right, man, like, I haven't even seen a Bonnie commercial. Oh, sorry. I haven't even seen a Bonnie commercial where, there you go, anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, what are you paying for?
This is what I know. So I just want to concur. Years and years, probably 10 years easily, my entire garden was through things I bought, transplants I bought, right? And I told this story once before. My great aunt, I love her to pieces, and she's not been to my garden yet. She lives in Texas, and when I've talked to her about growing and the things I'm growing and yada, 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 she's seen pictures, so she knows kind of the size of it. She thought that I was buying all of the things and planting them in my garden, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. I'd go broke, right? So as my garden has grown, fortunately, I found my way to, you know, starting things from seed, whether direct sowing or inside of my space. But I still augment my garden with things that I purchase, whether flowers or, in like last year's case, some of the plants that I bought. But I was telling Ben, and this is one of the reasons why we hit the record button, like, it's not a hard choice for me. I don't need red cabbage in my garden if this is what it's going to take. And it's so unfortunate because a part of what you and I believe one of the many goals that we have is we want to encourage people that already have gardens. We want to encourage people that they can have gardens, right? And we talk about all kinds of ways to, save monies. We're very clear about there is an expense to it, period, point blank, But when you look at something like, unless cabbage is a perennial plant that I'm missing,
Yeah.
I just don't. A part of it hurts my heart because there are people that will buy it and they don't have to. Again, everyone isn't in a position, isn't interested in even starting things from seed, starting things indoors, and that's their prerogative. You still have a right to have a garden. But we are now at the point where, we know the whole idea of big ag. We know the whole idea of prices in grocery stores. I'm ready to get a picket sign out at my local Home Depot if these Bonnie plants come in with that price. I'm anxious to see what's going to happen in Chicago's local area for our spring plants. And I'm really curious about these prices are going to be for the summer plants as well, which I have a little bit more tolerance for pricing for the summer plants.
Yeah. And so I want to say this out loud. Last year, we saw the price of wood go through the roof. Nobody bought wood, and the price of wood had to drop. Okay? It's the same thing here. If you don't buy it, they're going to lower the prices. You know what I mean? You can put $5 all you want on this red cabbage, but if nobody buys it, then you've literally just wasted time, money, and effort, gas, and everything else, labor for this. So, as much as I always hesitate saying you should start seeds. You should start seeds. I feel like the time is coming where it's getting to be more important for a lot of things to start seeds. I mean, I spent $3 for a pack of cabbage seeds, and I won't have to buy another pack of cabbage seeds for 3 years. You know what I mean? And I know it's like, yeah, you say that all the time. But as you see these prices go up, it's crazy. So the reason why I wanted to hit the record button was, first of all, because, Miss Batavia was saying some beautiful things.
I was fired up. That's why you wanted to hit it.
I know. You never get fired up. So it's like, let's take advantage of this. So 3 years ago, I noticed in my area, they stopped selling 6 packs of seedlings and everything was single. And I was like, that's bullshit. You know what I mean? I used to be able to get a 5-pack of small tomato seedlings, but whatever. And maybe they were $7 or $8, or 6-pack, excuse me. But I was getting 6 tomatoes for that price. Now I'm going and they're $10, $12, and you could get, and I haven't seen 6 packs of anything in my local area for these past few years. And I'm talking about your chards and your lettuces and stuff like that. And I had to go buy one. The first year I saw it, I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy any. And I ended up having to buy one. So I went and I looked in all of the pots and tried to find the tomato or the lettuce pot that had the most seedlings in it, so I could break them apart and spread them throughout my garden. But other than that, it's absolutely preposterous. So it's disgusting that people would do that.
I found it, and it was purchased on March 27th. I could have sworn I saw the plants in the stores because it took me a few trips to actually purchase them earlier than that. So maybe it is about right. But anywho, March 27th, I have a receipt for a 6-pack of broccoli for $3.98.
There you go.
Excuse me. And I struggled. I remember right? But for those that are longtime listeners, and I think I mention it all of the time because, we fail too. I'm on now year 3 of the struggle bus for starting brassicas indoors, right? Each year I've made a little bit of progress, but for me, I'm looking and saying, if I want broccoli in the spring, I'm going to have to purchase the plants. Right. And my plan was going to be to purchase them. And just to be very clear, over the years, when I talk about, how my entire garden was really, transplanted in, a lot of the things were from big box stores, but a lot were from your small businesses, your small nurseries. But that was when I was buying things in June and July. So they are open and they are booming. last March, last April, these places haven't even opened up yet. They don't have plants in, right? So last year, for the time I wanted to plant some of these things, those stores weren't an option. So I defaulted to your big box, your Home Depots, your Lowe's, and this is what they had to offer. And even $3.98, I still thought like I can get a whole package of seeds for that price. And how many plants does that produce? So I'm still hoping that Maryland has these astronomical prices, and I'm hoping that my local store does not. And my plan is, if they do have, I'm not going to pay for a broccoli plant for any singular plant for your brassica, because I'm not going to pay that price for it. I will plant other things in my garden. But what I tell you for certain, I was thinking about it when I was coming from the store today, and it was in part based on his video. I said, I'm going to spend this summer, I'm going to crack the code. So I'm going to continue to start these seeds indoors until I figure it out. Right. And this goes back to one of my theories on why I grow some of the things I grow. I need to gain the experience. I feel like I need to gain the experience, because there may come a time where I need to do this. And here we are. Right. My default was buying them from a store, but who knows how much longer I'll be comfortable doing that when it comes to some of these plants.
Well, I mean, there just becomes a point when you just start, you're disgusted with it. You're just, it puts you out. It takes something that you love, and then you go and you buy a red cabbage seedling for $4.98, whatever it was, $4.87, and you're just like, ugh, what's the point? Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya. We want you to be a part of our gardening community. DM us a picture of your garden at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram, and we will share it with our listeners.
What's the point in doing this? Like, it could turn people off. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people that are just like, you know what? I want to try a cabbage this year. Let me get one cabbage and I'm good. Go for it. No problems there. But if you're trying to grow a significant amount of food, you're going to be going backwards quick, and I don't know how people are. I mean, you guys are listening. Feel free to let us know on Patreon, excuse me. How you guys look at growing food. Do you just grow like a little bit, or do you want to grow as much as possible? Like, what does that look like for you? Because for us, it's we want to grow more than your average bear. You know what I mean? So I'm not happy with one tomato plant. I need 4 or 5 or 6 tomato plants, for all these things. I don't usually just grow one of something. And, as you go through and people plan out their gardens in the winter time, and then you turn around and you come back and you go and you see these prices, that's a huge shock. And it's not fair, because it's the time of year now where like it's too late to start seeds for some of these things, so you're stuck holding the bag. And it's like, it's my worst fear that people would go and just be like, I'm not even going to garden this year then. And then that's sad, because it gets out of them for 2 reasons. 1, they're not in touch with their food and they're not having a garden. And 3, they're probably not going to listen to us anymore. And that makes me sad.
And spending the money on it and then feeling disappointment later, right? So I mentioned that I feel differently about the price for starts for summer plants. And it's quite literally the plant to food ratio, the production. So we have talked about some of your brassicas are single serve plants, right? Your broccoli, you're going to get a head of broccoli. It's not even, the additional monies is not worth the side shoots. All right. Get it out of your heads. You're going to get one head of cabbage, right? And when you buy, a 6-pack or a 4-pack or multiple plants, or if you start them from seeds, it makes it very cost economical, right? It's an economical purchase. Let's say it that way. I bought an eggplant and lucked out and got 2 eggplants in the same container. And it probably was like $3 or $4, but something happened with my eggplants when I tried to start them last year. And so I said, okay, I want eggplants in my garden. And that thing I actually ended up returning it, because I think it got its butt kicked by the initial cold we got. Purchased another eggplant. And that thing gave me more food than I needed, more eggplant than I needed. Like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, $4 doesn't matter. $5 doesn't matter at that point.
A tomato plant,
$5 doesn't matter.
A pepper plant even, you know. I wouldn't grow 20 types of peppers if I was buying transplants, you know what I'm saying? But I think that those are based on where we are in the world, based on the price of things and the price of things for the last few years, even, I think it makes sense. Like, I can justify it, right? Like, and it just because I can doesn't mean that everyone should. But I say that to say, like, it's not just never buy something from the store. Some of it makes sense. This feels like price gouging. And the place that it was Home Depot and Bonnie's, they were the plants that I bought last year, that $3.98 price. Now, did I expect them to be $3.98 this year? Which again, I haven't seen them yet. I mean, I was hoping, you know. Do I expect to see a slight increase? Yeah. But I'm also expecting still to see 6-packs. You know? Well,
everything is increased. So the way that inflation is working is everything is increasing by about 7%. You know, or either it's like if you go to Domino's and you would get 12 wings, you're now going to get 11 wings or something like that, you know. So for you to go, let's just say that you're going to go this year and it's going to be $4.87. That's a 25% increase. That's a crazy amount of money. That's somebody getting greedy. And to me, that's a sign that there's a company that's in trouble. That they just can't keep up with the system that they built. And quite frankly, that's not my problem as a consumer. I mean, I know it is, but there's the difference between this and other industries is we as consumers have a way around it. There's a way around it, you know, unless a pack of seeds goes to $400, $500, you know, which, I mean, in theory, if you do the cost analysis, a pack of seeds should be around $200 probably.
Well, I won't sign on to that, but I will say...
Well, if you say one seed is one plant's $4.87, do the math, you know?
But I do want to be fair going back to some of the kind of... You just don't put a seed in the ground and then basically you have, you know, a plant that you're ready to ship to Home Depot and sell, right? Like, there is work and energy and effort. But remember, we were just talking about containers. So I'm looking at the containers that he had, and these are great containers to reuse. So there's that. But it's also... it's more plastic, right? So my six sales came in a plastic container. Let's not get it twisted. Like, it was plastic, but now if I wanted 6 plants, which can you imagine me going there and buying 6 cabbage plants? Yeah. I
mean, how could a company like that cut the cost down? You know, maybe they could plant them in soil blocks. You know, I don't know the answer to any of these things, but it just feels like the consumer is getting robbed, and it's not fair to anybody.
There's nothing that's logical.
We just got a new patron while we were on here. Thank you so much.
Hey.
This one's dedicated to you.
There's nothing that's logical about stripping down from 6 to 1, right? Like that's for the consumer. And I get it, you know. It's a capitalist society, right? You know, this company is out to make money as a primary goal. And I look at this and say, there have been moments where, like, even last year when I bought 6 red cabbage, I was like, gosh, I really don't want 6 red cabbage, but listen now, be grateful. But hey, this is how they're selling them. I could use like 3 of them. It'd be nice to have like 3 of them. And so, but I bought the 6-pack, right? And so on one hand, it's kind of like, oh, well, maybe I only want 1 or 2 cabbage. And that'd be great if the price was somewhat comparable. We know that normally the price for more is cheaper. So maybe it's $1.50 per plant. And then your 6-pack is $6 or something. I don't know. Right. But this ain't that.
No. And I mean, dude, you can still go get seeds at the Dollar Tree, which I know is $1.25 now, but that's a different story. We won't get into that. Death to the Dollar Tree. But in all seriousness, I mean, you can still go get a pack of seeds for that. Who cares if they're not all viable? Something's going to grow. Sow them heavy, sow them 5 deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this. But I want to say something, and I know that these episodes are exclusive for the patrons. And if you guys will give us permission, I would like to share this with everybody, because it's up to us as consumers to stand up and say, no, you can go out and pick it. They don't give a shit about that. What they care about is that, that 5 yen they're going to get, man. So back off. Don't give them your money. It's worth it. It's, at this point, my whole seed starting setup, which is a little bit bigger than most, cost me about $250. Come on, man. I can start 300-400 seeds on there. I've been running a full garden off of it. It pays for itself at this point. And the thing is I know if you follow the markets at all, they're doing things now to limit inflation. But as history shows, it's not going to change. The prices aren't really going to drop. Remember back in Hurricane Katrina? It was $1.40 a gallon, then it was like $2.20. Did prices ever go back down? No. It took a worldwide pandemic when nobody was on the roads to bring the cost of gas down. So we know that the prices are going to stay high. So we have the voting power, and we can do it silently by just not buying these things. My sadness is, and the only reason why I hesitate is because if we put this out there for the masses, and even the people, even the patrons listening, like you guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do what Ben says, then my problem is you're not going to grow something. Maybe you are only a starter plant person, and then you're not going to be able to grow something. So what I say is turn to Facebook Marketplace, turn to Craigslist, all these other places where people like myself are doing these things. You're going to get them a lot cheaper. And you're going to get other varieties. And then that'll buy you a year to where maybe you can dabble a little bit. You know what I mean? You can try a little. You don't have to have a huge seed starting setup. You can start one for like $15. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think, so the lemonade out of lemons, it's easy for me to say I have alternatives because of what I've already put into place, right? So I'm sensitive to the point you're making where I don't want it to be, all or nothing. So your $5 cabbage plant or nothing at all for a garden, right? And my hope is that that's not the situation. There are a lot of people that, garden primarily in the summer. I am a little bit nervous about what these prices are going to be in the summer. But at this moment and right in this chair today, I can't change that. But to your point, there is influence we have, with what you spend your money on or not. I think about the August challenge, and I think about a different reason why we wanted to diversify our gardens, our crops, ultimately, and diversify our harvests.
But I'm changing your name.
What are you going to call me?
Carla.
Carla, why?
From Scrubs. Because
I know
Turk is
Carla
always
from Scrubs, yeah.
Yeah, so Turk's always like, damn it, woman, you're in my head. And so I do the same thing with my wife. I call her Carla. You're going to be Carla, too, if you keep up with this business.
Yeah. And so I was actually, I was thinking about this, and it's so funny how things come together. I had been thinking about it, and sometimes you need to be forced into a situation, right? So I had been thinking about how I'm in spring again and have struggled, like what I wanted to grow in spring, I don't have access to right at this moment as I sit in this chair, right? And so I've been trying to kind of change my thoughts around like what's enough, right? So, my prized garden possession, I'm so proud of, always proud of, love my collard greens. I'm sitting here like, shoot, I may be planting collard greens in May or something when my the nurseries I normally go to get them in stock, right? And I did it for years. I just may need to be where it is. But I'm also looking and saying, I have 15 chard plants, right? Like that have done well, that I was successful with. I'm going to start hardening them off. They'll probably be
Damn, you
planted.
Straight rich.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Look, I should. There's so much in my head. All right, let me take a breath. All right.
Don't breathe. Just keep going. Don't stop.
So first, I love it. So first, it is just because
you have $75 worth of chard.
There it is. Shoot. So it's the trading is the second thought. So I don't want to lose that. So it's the making the adjustment to, I would love to have broccoli. Remember, I talked about this so much coming into this spring. I really want broccoli. You know what I've gotten over in this moment? If they don't have broccoli plants in 6-packs, guess who ain't growing broccoli this spring, right? Get over it. Get past it. This is what I have been trying to prepare myself for before I even saw this kind of sticker shock. But I also have been looking at, for me, I have started a lot of plants. I am prepared to grow a lot of food. Adjust my mindset because what I wanted, kale, a great example of it. I have dinosaur kale that's going to make it out of the grow room, baby. And I'm going to like parade that thing around. It is not my favorite kale, but guess who's going to make some adjustments in her taste buds, right?
That's right.
The second thing is when we really talk about community, if I hadn't done it before, I'm going to really need to start reaching out, right? So how many chard plants did I say I had?
15 at $5 each. That's $75 worth of chard plants.
So what if I only grew 7 of those? 7 is my favorite number. Maybe somebody else had luck with starting some collards or broccoli or something this spring, right? Talk about a trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's something that I think about kind of future state. I don't have that kind of garden community right now that I'm aware of, but it really lights a fire under me because we're resourceful. We know this. This is one of our gifts as gardeners. And we are now in a position where we need to use that resourcefulness in a different way, I think.
You know, I got to find a way. We have the platform, we have the people. We need to find a way to make seed starting as simple as possible. Maybe it's a master class of some sort. Maybe it's we've got to figure something out because I fear that when we show the stuff that we do, that people are, I could never do something like that. It takes so much space. But I think that there's got to be a way we can do it to where we can help more people because if it's going to get worse and worse and worse. You know what I mean? And, you said something that really rung out in my head. It was like, well, I don't really change anything unless I have to. Well, what's the best way to get bit by a dog? Back his ass into a corner. You know what I mean? If I want to grow cabbage and I don't want to pay it, I'm backed up into a corner.
Yeah.
So now I got a bite. So it's like there's all these different ways that you can do it. There's all these different, paths you can do. And like you said, trading with people. If you go up and down my street, everybody's got the same lily in their front yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people have been handing out, like, hey, this is extra. You want it? I got them all throughout my yard, man. And it's just the way it is. People share and they do stuff. And that's the great thing about gardeners is they're very loving and sharing people, generally speaking. It's like I got a lady down the street from me. And she gets, we give her eggs. And our rule with eggs is like, hey, we'll give you eggs all you want. You just donate money for food. I'm not going to put a price on it. You can give me $1. You can give me $50. I don't care. But you donate money to me for the chicken food. No problem. I said, okay. She goes, how about I actually give you some money for some real food for me to eat? And I'm like, well, you can buy it, but how about you just have it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that people realize like how much can come out of a garden, out of a few plants. You know what I mean? And like I said, paying $5, $7, $8 for a tomato plant, whatever. As long as you can take care of it, you're going to get your money's worth out of it tenfold. But a damn cabbage. And I mean, anybody that comes at me with some broccoli, with some side shoots, I will go to my grave arguing about that because there ain't no $5 worth of side shoots coming off that broccoli. You know what I mean? And it's a simple thought of like, hey, let me walk through the grocery store and see what it is. Okay, a head of broccoli costs this much. Let me see how much it grows. Okay, you get a head of broccoli. Yeah. So it makes, I feel like the company is saying, hey, you're an idiot, so we're going to overcharge you. And it's not fair. It's not right. It's consumer abuse, if that's a thing.
And it's 20 Swiss chard plants. I just looked at a picture.
Oh, shit. Let me redo my math.
Yeah.
I'm doing a calculator so I can do this math in public. $100.
I think that...
Damn, you rich.
I'm telling you, man. Shoot. Let me go ahead and sign this letter of resignation that's been in my drafts.
For show.
I think that this really shouldn't be a surprise, right? Period. It really shouldn't be a surprise. But my personality, the person that I am, I still meet disappointment with this level of surprise, like this, I just can't believe it, and we knew that, we've talked about for 2 years the price of things that you use to build your garden out. Right. And we looked at this, right? We've talked about food shortages. We've talked about for more primary items, so poultry and dairy and things of that nature. We've seen, seafood, dude. My cousin and I have an alert set up where we talk about the price of certain seafoods. And for sure, we knew that this was coming when it comes to, I've seen flowers are more expensive than they have been in years past, and everything won't stay the same price forever. But if you didn't know before today, know now. This is the beginning, right? And we're not talking about, I've said gardening is a hobby before, and I believe that. But this is not just a hobby for many people. We're talking about putting food on our plates. And when you have a plant that is hands down, the single plant costs more than you can buy it in the store. I want to be intellectually honest here. I also think about potatoes and the argument that I have about potatoes every time, justifying the price of it. And I get why that thing is priced the way that it's priced. All I can say is I'm really happy that I have a variety of things in my garden. And if I hadn't realized this until this moment, it really has, there's a light that's shining that says you don't have to grow everything every year.
No.
Right.
No, and I envision that at some point you're going to have to pick and choose what you want to grow, unless you start seeds. I'm going to be straight up because, dude, once you start seeds and you can start saving seeds, and that it's crazy, and I think what it is, we've seen this a few times recently, and everything coming up is you're starting to see monumental shifts in economics. Mm-hmm. So whereas people sell Bonnie sells plants at this price, well, that's going to drive people to other places to find their plants, because straight up people just aren't going to start seeds, and that's fine. So then that gives other people an opportunity. It's like a guerrilla warfare type situation where people are going to hey, Ben down the street sells plants. Let me get some from him. Lowe's is too much. Or, as the cost of seeds coming up, all of these people that are saving seeds and selling them, which everybody does, it seems like, those people will have a chance to grow. And, but the difference is they're not built. Let's just say that that was my business became selling seeds and plants. Okay. You can manage that company to a point to where you don't have to raise your costs to that amount because you know what you're comfortable making. Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't get keyword greedy, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're seeing is you're seeing old companies and old money growing into something in which they just want more. And I was just looking to see if they're a publicly traded company so I could see what the stock was doing. I'd be curious. But those things are kind of, it's like a shift that's occurring, and we're right in the middle of it, and it's super weird. Yeah. And it's super weird to first of all, how weird is it that we see a video and then 3 seconds later we're on air talking to people about it?
Yeah.
This is a legit reaction that we've never done before.
Yeah. I think that, and it's the Rusted Gardener. Shout out to Gary over there in Maryland. And I think that where he gardens at, it's a bit warmer than where I am. So it's actually, this is a part of the social network that we're a part of. That's super duper helpful. Because I've checked my local stores 4 times now. Right. Cause I'm ready to buy up those transplants as soon as they land. Right. And now this helps me kind of get out the frustration, prepare myself. And again, I'll share where I end up, what I see in my stores once these plants get there. But I keep on going back to buying a 6-pack and some of my broccoli bolted last year, right? Like, I chalk it up to the experience of me growing broccoli that first year in the spring. I'm going to tell you, you want to hear somebody cussing and fussing? If I paid $5 for that transplant and that thing bolted, So
there's that Batavia I love right there.
This is the mixture of
She just came out.
This is like December 15th Batavia. This is I've put on the heat for the first time. I'm mad about it because I still live in Chicago. You all aren't signing the change.org petition to get me to move to North Carolina. So, get on that, folks. No, in all seriousness, I've had this way over many years. I pay for things that I can't do myself. And I do things that I can do myself so I can afford to pay for the things that I can't. Right. Yeah. That same thing applies to gardening. A $5 single cabbage plant isn't the end of any of our gardens. It shouldn't be. Right. There are ways that you'll find that you can spend less on other things. Right. If you want us to splurge is what, it's crazy to think about a cabbage plant as splurging, but shit, that's what it is. I think that if we have in the past taken it for granted, that time is up. Right?
Yeah. So I completely disagree with you, because if I was starting all from seed starts and I saw that, I wouldn't have a garden this year. At least I wouldn't have a spring garden. I would wait until the summer and see what comes out of that. And if it was the same thing, I wouldn't do it at all. I would just put the garden to bed for the year. And
I would pay the money for a tomato plant and maybe a pepper plant. Boy, I
would have something very small. Yeah, I would be very choosy though, but otherwise I would definitely would not grow any cabbage, you know. And I'm pretty sure, like, if you go to my my Lowe's by my house, it's the same. All of the plants are all the same, so it's the chards and everything. So I'm curious. I'll go next time I go up there, which I go up there all the time. It makes me sick. I'll look and see what the price is, and we'll put them in the stories on the Backyard Gardens TV Instagram.
Yeah.
So, look, we were supposed to keep this at 30 minutes, and if I keep going, I think my head might explode. So
I've talked myself down a little bit. I've just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm good. I might take a nap now. So I know Miss Batavia's taking a nap for show. But
it's my way of life, man.
Patrons, thank you so much for being with us and being a part of the show. We couldn't do it without you, and we were more than happy to bring you these. If you do feel like it's fair to put this out to the rest of the world, let us know and we'll do it. And if not, that's fine. I'm okay with keeping it totally exclusive to you. It'll be here when people want to join. But it is an important message, and I hope that you find some good out of it and use it. And I'm going to say it. Don't support Bonnie.
I'm not going to say that just yet.
I'm going to say it for spring vegetables. How's that?
Yeah. I'm going to say don't pay $5 for a cabbage plant.
Yeah.
So be selective. I will let you know, again, like Ben said, through Backyard Gardens TV stories, what my pricing looks like. And again, I recognize that it will likely be the same company. So if I purchase a 6-pack, I'm still supporting the same company. But sales receipts are sales receipts. Like, how many people are purchasing the single plant versus a 6-pack will be shown to them probably in their second quarter numbers. But anywho, do what's best for you and your family and your garden. But remember, you have options. Right. We talk about a bunch of different vegetables. Don't feel like your hand is forced, that you have to buy something that you're not comfortable buying at that price point. Right. That's what I got.
Yeah. And we're going to work on that project that I talked about earlier. But look. Oh, shit. That's right. See ya. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please follow us on YouTube at Backyard Gardens TV,
Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV, over on our website, backyardgardenstv.com. And then we have Patreon at Backyard Gardens.
And don't forget to check out our links below to help the show. Thank you so much for joining us as we learn to grow and grow for change. Cut.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya.
If you guys want some Backyard Gardens gear,
Go to the link below and check out our t-shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and other gear.
all purchases go towards helping to support the show, so thank you so much in advance, and we hope you enjoy. We want everybody to have a garden, and we're going to give you a chance to win free seeds every month.
Head over to backyardgardenstv.com and enter your email address to be entered in all of our giveaways.
Good luck!
We want you to be a part of our gardening community. DM us a picture of your garden at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram, and we will share it with our listeners.